Welcome to the Holistic Birth Podcast, where we put the power in families' hands to have the safe, satisfying journey they deserve. My name is Allison.
And I'm Brigitte. We are two doulas who love bringing information along with inspiration to help you feel confident and powerful in your choices throughout the birthing year.
We cover all topics around pregnancy, birth, and beyond. We're so glad you're here.
Let's dive into this week's episode. Welcome back to the Holistic Birth Podcast. This is episode number 6, and today we are going to be talking about a birth as a spiritual rite of passage. This is a topic that is near and dear to my heart, so I am very excited to talk about this today, as I think Allison is too. So,
yes. Yeah, I think we were just talking about how birth sometimes has maybe lost its meaning. We oftentimes, the movie scenes and the TV show series scenes of birth and pregnancy in general is just very, there's like all these stereotypes and assumptions, and kind of like it's obviously it's not always rainbows and butterflies, but it's also not always miserable. So I feel like the meaning that it could potentially have has been maybe lost a little bit, which is why we've been really excited to talk about it today, because there are a lot of deaths and a lot of transformative moments throughout the journey, and I think that it can be pretty intense for a lot of people, because there's a lot of different self-discovery and transformation, all that stuff, which we'll get into. But yeah, I think we're really excited to talk about it today, to be able to kind of like unpack a little bit more about what the meaning could be for the birth journey.
Yeah, definitely. It's it's not for everybody. So for those of you that are really interested in, getting more connected with yourselves and with your baby, it's definitely, this is a really good topic for you. So, we're excited to get into it. So I actually really like to kind of talk about birth as a journey through a labyrinth. Anybody that's familiar with Pam England's books, Birthing from Within is actually one of them, and Labyrinth of Birth is another one of her books. This one talks a lot more about, creating your own labyrinth, and then also meditations and rituals for your childbearing year. Really highly recommend this one, along with her Birthing from Within. So my business is called Into the Labyrinth Birth Services. So I really was inspired by her books and naming my business. So it's really something that I feel is very like deeply ancestral, and it's basically, there's different levels of going through this labyrinth, and whether that's through your prenatal time or during birth even, and then also postpartum. So if those of you that aren't familiar with what a labyrinth is, it's basically walking, it's like a little maze essentially, and it's usually in circular shape. And as you're walking through, it will take you almost to the middle, and then you start to make your way back out toward the edges. So a lot of people can relate to this as their journey, because they'll feel like they're making progress and doing really well, and then they kind of, have something come up, and they just can't, handle whatever it is, or it's just like making that journey back out to the edges, and it can be really overwhelming and very intense at times. So yeah, it's just like, it is just walking a journey, and you don't have to be on that journey by yourself. You can have many people that are assisting you during that time too. So yeah.
Yeah. And I think, there was Pam England's conference that she had in Manchester maybe like 5 years ago or something like that. And she talked a lot.
I missed that. Oh my gosh. I would have loved that.
It was fantastic. We were at like a local restaurant that has really good chicken tenders. But it was really inspiring, because she was talking about her birth story medicine, like processing and, like healing kind of element that she was starting to implement with like people in training, trying to help people process their birth stories. But the way she was kind of describing the labyrinth that day was, the path is kind of there already, and we don't really know what it's gonna unwind to be, and it feels like a maze. It does feel very confusing, and like, where are we going? But you're just kind of like taking one step at a time and turning corners that are made for you and your baby and the path that you're supposed to be on. And I think the way she was talking about it at that time was you're like on this weird twisty kind of road inward to like retrieve, to like get your baby, and then you kind of find yourself retracing your steps to like come back out of it.
Yeah.
And so like that was kind of cool. I really like, that's such a good analogy. I'm really glad you brought that up.
Yeah, definitely. And she loves to use like labyrinths as like visualization tools. So like even practicing for labor, she has people like trace a labyrinth with their finger while they're holding like an ice cube or something like that, just to help through the intensity of it. And it is very meditative, and you know, it's a real journey inward. So I just find it like super symbolic and really cool to work with my clients with it, and then just kind of talk about it in general. So yeah,
that symbolism I think people crave having that in not only their birth, but their pregnancy, their postpartum. It can feel a little isolating sometimes, depending on your support systems and stuff like that. A really great solution for kind of a symbolic celebration. A lot of times we think of like a baby shower, but I think the cooler thing is a mother blessing. Sometimes they're called blessing ways, or, you know, there's other titles for them, bless the mama or whatever it is. But mother blessings are a really fantastic way to get together with like an intimate group of people, typically other women around you. Maybe your own children or something as well, but it's a time of like ceremony and ritual, and kind of falling into these stages of the ceremony of kind of like, really it's just like circle work, being able to step into this space with people where depends on how woo-woo you want to get with it. You could open with prayer, you can open with like a meditation, whatever it might be, but you kind of call in the circle. And then you have different activities throughout the whole ceremony that you are strategically trying to like make room for connection and like pampering, and really just whatever is going to resonate with you and how you want to celebrate this journey. It could be your first baby or your sixth baby. This would apply to really any person, but really the idea is that you're implementing these different pieces of the ceremony to help you feel like ultimately like just celebrated. So yeah, I think some other examples would be like people could braid your hair, you could get henna done like on your belly, or have like wear like a flower crown, or light incense, listen to music. People could go around and tell stories of like inspiration, or give like affirmations. There's a really popular activity. It's like with red thread, you would pass this like thread around, this yarn around the circle, and everyone kind of ties it to their wrist, and then they either set an intention or something, but everyone wears it until the birth. And some people then will kind of set like a phone tree up or something to let their circle people know like that you're in labor or that birth is imminent, and you could like have everyone light a candle for you, so it can kind of feel like you have that connection to your tribe, to your village, to be able to also kind of propel yourself into that birth experience. I think usually people do it in the third trimester. But yeah, I think ceremony is just very, very powerful way to kind of reclaim that spiritual rite of passage.
Yeah, definitely. And it's something I feel like society is lacking a lot, is just like a sense of sisterhood and community. I think people are starting to figure it out, and there are more opportunities for women's circles and stuff like that. But yeah, these things really create a lot of beautiful, sacred sisterhood that is just really lacking. And I'm just so passionate about that. It's just so needed in this world. So yeah, as far as ceremonies go, another really beautiful ceremony is done in the postpartum time, and that's called the closing of the bones ceremony. And that is, different aspects to kind of look at it as is, emotional and physical. Emotional would be just like, closing the chapter of giving birth. A lot of women feel very like open and vulnerable after giving birth, and, their pelvis is, on a physical level, their pelvis is shifted and opened, and they're just feeling kind of raw and vulnerable. So this ceremony is done with 5 rebozos, and one is wrapped at the feet, the other one's wrapped at the knees, and then there's the pelvis, and then the shoulders and like the breast area, and then the head. So those areas are wrapped up. Usually it starts with like a massage first, just getting the body warm and just relaxing, those muscles that have worked so hard for several months and are still working hard. So yeah, just massaging those areas. Sometimes there can be affirmations done at each point. So at the feet, it's like, thanking your feet for carrying you for, this amount of time, and just like thanking your body for really working so hard for so long. And then, each part is wrapped up really kind of tight. So it really is a very warming ceremony. And then after those points are wrapped, the whole body's wrapped with one big blanket. And then the mother is at that point given time to kind of rest and rejuvenate. You can do things like lighting candles and having aromatherapy, playing music, things like that. So, and this can be just done with one other person, or you can have like a ceremony around. The mother can talk about afterwards, like her birth experience, or if she wants to talk about it before. You can incorporate herbal baths. You can just kind of make it your own, and whatever, appeals to you. So that's another really nice ceremony.
Yeah. I know you had helped someone. You really implemented this ceremony with her recently. Is there like an expected length of time? Like how long does a ceremony like that last?
Yeah, it's a good question. So it really kind of all depends. Again, it's, whatever other, modalities they want to use. Like if they want massage, usually it will take 1 to 2 hours. Or if they, want to add an herbal bath on there, sometimes it'll take up to 3. So it really just all depends. Like if they just want to be wrapped up and they don't really care too much about massage, it's less time. So it's usually like 1 to 3 hours. So, and then of course, if they take a nap afterwards or want to sleep, I let my clients sleep as long as they want to, if they need to, just to get that rest. So, yeah.
How do you handle that with babies and feeding schedules? And obviously all of that's unpredictable sometimes.
Yeah.
How was that? I know you literally just did one very recently. How did she handle trying to feel like she could give herself that time while still pretty there's like all that attachment stuff that is part of the postpartum period in that 4th trimester. How did all that get handled?
Yeah. That's another awesome question. I was just thinking about it before you asked. It just depends on the situation. So, if someone's just, bottle feeding, or if they're breastfeeding and bottle feeding, they can, have her partner was home. So he was able to take care of the baby, and the baby actually slept through the whole process. So,
It's very thoughtful.
Yes, definitely. But sometimes the baby can be present for the ceremony and just kind of be, resting with mom at the same time. That's totally fine too. It just kind of all depends on the situation. If they have a partner that can, watch the baby while we're doing the whole process, then that's good. I know feeding schedules are kind of wonky, but, sometimes, baby will be resting for 3 hours. So I'll give you that amount of time that you need.
Very thoughtful, very considerate.
Yeah, I know. He was very considerate. Yeah. So
do you find that there's an ideal time to try to implement that in your postpartum journey? Is there like a sweet spot for when to kind of seek out that specific ceremony?
Yeah, I usually say, wait at least 4 weeks just to kind of get yourself implemented into a schedule at home and kind of like into a rhythm before you have, make time to do something like this. But, some people also recommend waiting 6 weeks, but it can be done at any time. And it even can be done years later if you want to. And then another actually nice thing about this ceremony too is it can be done for someone that's had a pregnancy loss. It actually can be really quite therapeutic for something like that. So I really encourage people to look into that if they've been through that. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
I feel like because there's a lot of structure, but also not when you're pregnant and postpartum. The supports that are there, the visits that you have with your providers, like it's all it's just nice to be able to have the meaning applied with like a mother blessing or like a closing of the bones ceremony. I feel like that really helps you to like you had mentioned like another time, like just getting kind of in tune or spiritually connected to your baby and your journey. And we talk about it a lot as doulas. It's way more than just, are you alive and healthy? You deserve so much more. That is the bare minimum. And our country does not, we have significantly ridiculously high maternal mortality rates, especially for Black women or people of color. But we could be doing a lot better.
Yes.
And I think one of the things is we've kind of just gotten to the mindset of like, you know, someone has this wild birth story that just took them for a total ride, and then the first thing people say back is like, well, at least you're alive and healthy and well, and is baby okay? Okay, great. Like that's the only thing we care about. Obviously, we want you alive and healthy and well. Same
Right.
thing with your baby.
Yeah.
We also want you to feel this multi-layered experience that you were seen and you felt heard and you were connected to the people around you, that your autonomy was respected, that your choice was really like amplified. We talk about it a lot in our course, the Guide to Out of Hospital Birth course. But it's also, I mean, it's in a lot of our course content, but Maslow's hierarchy of need, like we have a whole handout on that in our course guide that we try to share with people, but we do focus a lot on the physiological needs. You know, were you able to breathe, and did you have food and water, and like, you know, did you sleep? It's so much more than that. To go up a layer of, were you feeling safe? You know, was there personal security? Do you have resources? Like how were the things within your reach? Another layer is the social needs. You know, did you feel a sense of friendship or sisterhood? Did you feel like the intimacy or the family or sense of connection was there? And then even a layer deeper than that would be esteem needs. So did you feel respected? Was like your strength recognized? Did you feel like you had freedom, especially freedom to choose, freedom to move? And then really ultimately it could be a self-actualization experience where you're feeling like you were the most that you could be with what you had at the time. But all of those layers are, you deserve them. You deserve
Definitely.
them to be part of your care
Yeah.
and part of your experience really along the whole way. Like it's not just about, you know, you made it out alive, and like that is, yeah, it's so much more than that. You deserve to feel really satisfied, and that might mean different things to different people. Some people love privacy, some people love having lots of hands like around and on them for touch. So some people have certain choices with where they want to give birth or what interventions they want or don't want, whether it's a vaginal birth, cesarean birth, VBAC, whatever it is. Like you probably will have a very different view than other people that are in your circle, or maybe they overlap, but everyone deserves those layers of what the journey can mean. Because you really go deep.
Yeah,
Inward.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that you brought that up, because it's just so, like, it's such a amazingly sacred time. Like, you're bringing another soul into this world, and it shouldn't be taken lightly, you know, at all. And it should be celebrated and honored. You know, women are incredible creatures, and we should be definitely, you know, we all deserve to be treated with respect, and to really get more than, like you said, like we deserve more than just, you know, the basics of food and water and those things. Like it goes way deeper than that. So yeah, totally.
Yeah. And there's a lot of external layers to it, but there's a lot of internal layers.
Yeah,
for
big
sure.
time. Big time. Huge transformational time. You learn so much about yourself. You're on like a total journey of self-discovery. You know, I actually heard from a midwife that during pregnancy, you're actually most able to heal like any sort of like past traumas, or like you can really integrate like deep healing during pregnancy. So I thought that was really interesting to hear that. And it makes total sense, because, you know, some of my clients have said like, oh my gosh, there's like this crazy stuff coming up around like traumas I've had, or stuff that I need to work through in my family, or, you know, like that didn't come up before. And so they're really going on like a really in-depth journey just by being pregnant. So it's amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that we're used to having control over in our lives.
Yes.
I know I'm a color-coded lady. I like things.
Me too.
I like things. Yeah, you and I agree on that, right?
Yeah.
Like being organized and like being prepared, and like there's so much you can do to prepare for the birth experience, for your postpartum experience. But there's a lot that's really just, you can't possibly 100% prepare for every single layer.
Yeah.
And that's kind of hard, because especially if you're someone like me who likes to be prepared, it can feel like all the choices that might come up or the different twists in the road, it can feel like that fear of the unknown is like really daunting.
Yeah.
But I think when you're there, I don't know, it's like when you think about that postpartum time frame, birth is always like this hindsight thing. In the moment, you're like, I don't know if this is early labor or not. I don't know if these are just Braxton Hicks. I don't know if there's a lot of unknown, and it's always this retrospective, like, okay, that was actually the start of it, and I didn't realize it until now. I'm able to look back, but it's like the person that you end up being, it's a different version of you, and everyone's like, get my body back and get myself back, and it's like you're still there. You've been there. It's just you've now grown and transformed, like you said, into this whole new version of yourself, and that deserves celebration. That deserves to be given time, because I mean, it took you 9 months in theory to grow this little baby, and your body made all kinds of adjustments for that baby, and ways that it grew with the baby. And now you do kind of deserve like a very generous time on the other side to take that time also to kind of walk that rite of passage, because that's also its own story too.
Yeah.
You know?
It's different, all different seasons is what, I've heard people refer it to as seasons, and it's exactly what it is. So yeah, definitely. Good stuff.
Very
Love
good.
it.
Yeah. We do go into more depth about like spiritual rite of passage that birth can be in our Guide to Out of Hospital Birth course, which anyone can take. Maybe you're considering out of hospital birth, or you are on that journey now. But we definitely go into more depth about this if you're curious about a little bit more of those layers. But we do have like a discount code if you're interested. It's in the show notes. If you're a listener of the podcast, you get 20% off. We like to pamper our listeners.
Definitely.
But it's a really great course. And I think this episode, I know is important to both of us, but I think it's important for other people to hear that it's okay to bring meaning and give yourself the time to give meaning to your birth journey, the whole year that it really can be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Good.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much for listening. And we're excited to get into next week's topic. So check us out next week, and we'll see you then.
Sounds good.
Take care. Bye-bye.
That's it for this topic. Thanks for tuning in. Check out the show notes for any resources or links that we mentioned today. Make sure to subscribe and follow us on your preferred podcast platform, and also be sure to give us a review.
It really helps us grow and reach more people who could benefit from this info. Also, check us out on YouTube and visit our blog, where we have this podcast transcribed for you.
We'd love to connect over social media too, and we're just an email away if you have any questions or if you want to request a topic to be covered.
We hope this helps your mind, body, and soul in having the supported and holistic journey you are so deserving of. Embrace the power within you.